And that's a lot of the movie.
Oh. I hated it.
I did not. I'm very curious to hear your reasoning why.
Really? You liked it?
I'm not going to say it's top tier filmmaking, but I did find it interesting.
I, it's one of those things that I found interesting for a reasonable amount of the time, but the main reason I was okay with it was because I assumed that it would give me something better in the end, and I feel like it didn't.
I can see that. It does definitely. It does kind of very abruptly end in the final scene.
So I've been reading a couple of things about it. And the weird thing is that apparently compared to the original Arthurian legend, it includes certain things that you won't understand unless you've read the story, because they cut the parts that made it make sense out of the movie. And
I can see that to an extent.
There are certain things that they completely switched from the original story. So that basically the character himself is like kind of the opposite of what he was in the original story in a lot of ways. But even that's up for debate, depending on how much of the rest of the non-mainstream Arthurian lore you know.
Yeah.
So who knows? What I do know is I went into this movie not knowing anything and being kind of excited for another cool A24 movie, and had a good time with a lot of pretty cool visuals, but mainly being disappointed because I expected any of the events that happened to come back up again at some point, instead of just being a series of little encounters that were almost completely unrelated to each other and then just ending.
I mean, to my understanding, because I did read a little bit. I looked it up on Wikipedia. Let's be honest.
Well, let's talk about your interpretation of the movie before you Wikipedia'd it.
I thought I can kind of, at least I have some inkling of what they were going for, and in the concept of
that, I know, me too,
and the way the characters were. I did find it interesting. Just in first off, I should point out that lore, like that kind of lore, is not really my strong suit. So you didn't know a lot going into it. But I was interested in the concept of the Green Knight kind of being reinterpreted here as a representation of the inevitability of time and death, and at least that's what I got out of it. And I mean, they explicitly say it at one point. The lady of the castle has this whole monologue about how green always comes over man-made structures and all these things.
No, I know, but and honestly, that little speech was that little monologue was one of my favorite parts of the movie, because it was really beautiful and poetic. But in terms of the actual experience itself, it's very slow, very atmospheric, and you know me, normally that's my bag.
Yeah, so I was kind of surprised when you texted me you were not a fan of this.
And that's why, and I just watched She Dies Tomorrow a couple of days ago and really enjoyed it. So it's weird that this is very much something I did not enjoy. But I feel like I feel like I needed more connecting the scenes to make it really feel better.
And I don't know if that's a fault of the movie or the original story, and that's kind of what I was talking about earlier.
I don't know.
Like the stuff with the lady and the Lord, what was in the story, the story was kind of set up as a series of tests against nature, chastity, and all these kind of different things. And the way I kind of interpreted that, and I definitely see what you're saying, that they are very loosely connected.
Are we going? How long are we waiting for spoilers? Because are we
Yeah, I feel like we're
If you like to really discuss this, we're gonna have to go into actual spoiler territory.
That's fair.
So far, we haven't really spoiled anything. We've just mentioned words of that reference things that are in the movie.
Yeah,
not events.
I can say we go like a few more minutes just to briefly kind of just go over thoughts, and then we'll we'll usually do overall thoughts, and then we just have into spoilers. But my interpretation of it was this test of character and like, okay, that's a really intense look to give me while you're drinking that. Test of character and like life and manhood and all these kind of different things and honesty and all these things as kind of like methods of living life, which leads to your inevitable death. And how you live your life is comes to these small little actions, these small little pieces, and how you choose to engage yourself in those moments. And then eventually how you end up facing your inevitable end and how that comes about and the whole sequence that precedes that. So that was my interpretation of those sequences.
I suppose I do see that in there. However, like, now, I don't know. I was never really compelled by any of it. It was more just like watching. It was, what this kind of reminded me of was Valhalla Rising.
Never saw that one.
It's a Nicholas Winding Refn movie, and it's not bad. I would honestly say I liked it more than The Green Knight, but there is a lot of it that is just very atmospheric.
Yeah, and I completely agree. That's
kind of surreal and has a lot of things where characters are just kind of weirdly pontificating on the nature of being a man and life and like weird shit. And the thing that this reminded me of, it's not nearly as bad, but very much like I kept getting feelings that were Ad Astra adjacent.
In terms of like tone and pacing, I can see the comparison.
No, exactly.
And, like, to be clear, like I agree, the pace of this movie fucking drags in certain points, especially in the first half of the movie. Because like I will admit, like I saw this movie by myself. There was no one else in the theater with me, so there was this parts where I could just put up my phone and just flip through shit during the parts where he just like walking on a horse again, like a long driveway for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, sure. That's but I did not do that. I sat there and watched it.
I know. My point is, like, I understand what you're saying, that the pacing is drags. It should have been shorter. It could have been cut down more concisely.
No. So hang on. Here's the thing. It either should have been a lot shorter or it should have been a lot longer.
Okay.
I feel like it was trying to do this weird thing where either go full on into the weird, crazy, trippy, atmospheric things and give me like a long sequence of like him tripping on mushrooms, or like there were some of those scenes which just felt weirdly short, and some of the scenes which felt weirdly long, and it felt like they cut things out at points weirdly, like the length of the scene like at the other castle near the end. Like that was a long series of scenes. That's a lot of the runtime of the movie, at least relatively speaking. But then if you're talking about like when he goes foraging for mushrooms earlier in the movie, like that sequence was like
2 seconds,
2 minutes.
Yeah.
And I felt like it could have been more. It could have been so much more. You could have gotten so much more interesting stuff out of that. And I feel like they could have done there's just a weird imbalance with this movie where it constantly felt like it wasn't giving me quite what I wanted.
Okay.
And not in a way that was compelling, just in a way that was like, oh, it's like the kind of thing where you see an adaptation of something where someone makes it and you think this person enjoyed a completely different aspect of the thing than I did. And they're leaning hard into that and basically not paying attention to the thing that I actually enjoyed. Which doesn't make it bad necessarily, but it's just not my deal, dude. Like I was
really valid. Yeah.
It was really exhausting. And I didn't enjoy it at all. Yeah. So let's. Do you want to spoilers?
Spoilers, I think.
Spoiler alert! It's time for spoilers.
I liked it more than he did.
Huh?
I said I liked it more than he did.
Yeah,
General
clearly.
consensus.
So the thing that I found interesting was that all of the tests that he was put through, he essentially failed, like all of them.
Well, he got the skull back.
Yes, but not without asking for payment first.
That's true. Yeah.
There are things that he did right because he figured that's what you're supposed to do. But the fact that he's a selfish child shines through in every single instance. You have that when the dude, gives him directions and then asks like, what, there's no like nothing in return. And he's like, here, have a coin. And he's like, all right, sure. Like he had to ask for it. And when he got it, it was barely anything.
Yeah.
And then like, he failed the test to not ask her for anything in return. He failed the test of chastity. He failed the test of friendship from the fox. He even tries to take the shortcut when he sees the giants. He's like, carry me across. And the fox is like, dude, it's about the journey. And like, so they go.
I wish the fox ended like that. That'd been great.
Yeah, right. Like, bruh. Like, have the fox be voiced by Aquafina like Raya. Like,
oh my God. Yeah.
But it just the way that it all comes together just feels weirdly uneven.
And, but see, I would argue that's part of the point, and I think the way
they achieved what they intended to do, but it didn't get through to me.
Fair enough.
And there are a lot of people it's getting through to, so good for them, good for you. I'm glad you enjoyed it, but in the end, like for example, one of the things I read was that the old lady with the blindfold in the castle at the end,
she was originally supposed to be Morgan Le Fay. Yeah.
What?
Oh yeah, that's in the original story.
No, like his aunt.
Yeah, in the original story, it's like Morgan Le Fay disguised, or like it's some magical being disguised as an old lady.
Yeah, and that's why she was enchanting the thing where like, so the queen looked like his girlfriend, and like just and the fact that the Joel Egerton's character was supposed to be kind of like a kind of a representation of the Green Knight himself.
In a way.
I kind of liked that. I liked the fact that they sat and they had conversations about things and you got to see more about the characters and you got to like think more about the overall themes of the movie and everything instead of, like the scene at the beginning where he gets robbed of his shit and they take his horse and like, first off, I hate that fucking actor. I really hate that actor. Ever since I saw
plays the thief.
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like
it. Ever since I saw like Killing of a Sacred Deer.
I never saw that one. Was that good?
It's awful. It's fucking terrible. It is one of the most boring, pointless movies I've ever seen.
Damn.
I still haven't seen Ergos Lanthimos movie that I really enjoy. I didn't even really like The Lobster, but there's something about how that dude acts that just rubs me the wrong way. And he's definitely not British.
No.
There was no point where I was like, oh yeah, that dude belongs here. His like he makes sense in the scene. Like he fits this movie. And
it felt like he's trying to be like Ramsay Bolton a little bit, is what the vibes I kind of got out of it.
I didn't even get that. I got nothing out of that guy. Fuck that guy.
All right.
I just did not care. I didn't like him. I didn't care. The scene was simultaneously too long and too short. It was like too empty.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there was more. There should have been more conversation happening in there, or at least they should have come back around later. How did the axe end up back at the fucking castle later? And if you're going to imply that this is all actually a series of tests that were predetermined as a magical gauntlet to turn him into, the man he's supposed to be, then fucking do something a little more explicit about that. Like, you gotta, like, I don't know what cut out of this movie. The weird thing is I would honestly be down to see a director's cut of this movie because I would want to see the rest of what they cut out. I would want to see this as a more complete film because as it is, it just feels disconnected. And I get that that's a vibe to go for sometimes, but it just didn't work for me.
See, I didn't feel there was this. I didn't personally feel it was disconnected. I get where you're coming from, and I think that interpretation is valid too. I think it's definitely this movie is definitely one of those cases where there's multiple ways to kind of figure it out, and none of them are really right or wrong. It's definitely meant to be an auteur film from an auteur director who's just known for doing kind of wacky shit, like Mandy or a Ghost Story, and all. And
you know what I felt about this?
What's that?
You remember how we felt about The Lighthouse?
Yeah, I can see that.
That's what I'm feeling. That's what I'm feeling right now.
Now,
like I can tell this is really well made. It's somebody's bag. A lot of people put a lot of good work into this. Dev Patel's amazing.
Oh yeah,
like, the effects are amazing. It's a well-crafted movie in a lot of ways, and so many people are just gonna watch it and fucking adore it. But I just watched it and felt nothing but kind of bored and wondering where it was going to go. And then it ended, and I was like, okay, I guess.
See, for me, like, you be clear, I don't even like love this movie necessarily. I give it a solid 7. But it's more like I respect it for the choices it made, regardless of it's definitely not perfect. It has a lot of flaws. It does drag on, and the scenes that could be more interesting aren't dragged out long enough. I don't need that many scenes of him walking up slightly steep hills, really sad, for a good chunk of the film.
Dude, you know what I was thinking of?
What was that?
Oh, sorry, you're done.
But that being said, I do find the actual morality story part of it interesting. I like the art designs. I love that dude, like the actor's fucking voice. I forget his name, but every time he speaks, it's like, oh, holy shit. And I do
the Green Knight.
The Green Knight. I forget. He's the actor has like that great gravelly voice that you just wish you had because you could only go into acting with that voice. Like Keith David is another one, and I like the idea of what they were going for, and I did kind of like the Brazil like twist at the end where they kind of had the whole he flashes forward to his life could be if he chooses this direction. And then he realized he doesn't want that. He really
to keep being a fucking bitch.
Yeah, pretty much. Which does kind of harken back to the original tale where the whole green sash thing was actually originally kept as like a badge of dishonor. It was him acknowledging his faults. It was him acknowledging his mistakes. And he wore that for the rest of his time as a knight as a reminder of his mistakes and the fact that they absolved him of those mistakes. So this is kind of a callback to it in a different sense, so much as that green sash still represents his mistakes and his weaknesses and his frailties. But if he kept that, it would just lead him to anger and bitterness, and an event like he would still live a life, but it would be meaningless and hopeless and just filled with anger and bitterness and paranoia.
Yeah.
Which is why
life of fear while it hurt everybody around it.
Exactly. So when he discards it at the end, that is him learning his lessons, even though he did fail the tests. He learned that eventually, he came around and learned the lesson. That's when the closing scene when the Green Knight kind of sympathizes. So he did the work
wrong, but he got the answer right.
Yeah. So I felt I liked where it culminated in that way, and I think for me it worked. Even though I felt like the journey to get there was far from perfect.
Do you? Now here's another thing. I feel like there's the two camps of whether he lived or died. And both seem very certain about their sides. And I can see how some people might see it as one way and not the other.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, I felt like when that dude says, now off with your head, I feel like the main point was like, all right, you learned your lesson, but it's too late now. You're still going to die.
At the same time, you can also interpret that as him accepting that exactly what they say in the movie. Sometimes your time comes sooner than others.
No, exactly.
And to fight against that just leads to more misery and death. So even if he does die at the end, that could still play into the overall themes of him learning his lesson, learning that you can't fight fate, you can't fight destiny. Your time comes when it comes.
But then you're also putting forward the idea that it's better to live as a man than die as a coward, or die as a man than live as a coward.
Yeah, there's also that.
I take some issue with that general message.
True.
But the other interpretation is that he's like being kind of cute. He's like, oh, you got it. Now off with your head. Like off you. Now you can leave with your head. You can keep your head.
Yeah.
Like like a play on words, which is kind of cute, especially considering that, his mom sent him off there in the first place. So it's like, oh, you learned the lesson, you little shit. Grow up, get a job. Like but I could also see it as his mom is just so fucking embarrassed by him, so fucking humiliated and just sick of his shit that she's willing to put him to this test. And he just fails the test on every front. And she's like, well, if he's that bad at it, he's going to die. But I'm willing to take this risk. That's the point of this witchcraft. And he fucking botches it all the way through. And she's like, well, I guess my son's dead now. Fuck him, I guess. Now, granted, I'm saying this without the context of the rest of the thing, because in the stories, clearly he lives. Clearly he goes back and like inherits the throne and everything. Like there's continuations of this story. But considering how much this movie changes from the original story in the first place, it could also be argued that they would potentially be taking the alternate route and just saying like, yeah, fuck this kid. So,
It's definitely up to interpretation. I think one thing, kind of going back to what you're saying, where it is helpful to know the source material a bit, and this is something I found out after I watched it, was the whole Green Knight coming in wasn't to test her son, because his mom is Morgan Le Fay, and he just really wanted to fuck with Arthur.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah. So it's more like she wanted to like go out, get with Arthur and scare his wife to death. And then her dipshit son came in and just fucked all of that up.
Wow.
To the point where now that's probably why that's probably where she's making the shots. Like, my son's I love him, but he's a fucking idiot. He's a fucking stupid moron. Like, what a fuck. Okay, so you don't die. Here's a sash. Don't take this off. And then he loses it immediately.
First thing he does is lose the sash. And she's like, oh my God.
Like,
know what? Like halfway through the movie, she's watching through like some kind of like
your psychic energy blindfold.
Yeah, some like soothsaying shit, like seer shit. And like she's just looking through this fog that's giving her this vision of portal into what's going on with him. She's watching the movie with us, basically. And like halfway through the movie, she's just like, you know what? Okay,
like,
fuck
he's
it.
A fucking idiot. Like, I love him to death. But he's a fucking idiot. Like,
this is on me.
I mean, they even kind of
raised an idiot.
They kind of imply also that like Morgan Le Fay is possessing the fox at one point. So that would also make sense.
I guess if you want. See, here's the thing. You don't fucking know. So if that's the reality you want to choose, go for it. I don't give a shit. Okay. I don't care. Like, I could not care less. And they're like, oh, what if it was his mom? I'm like, oh, who fucking cares? What if Idris Elba played Knuckles? Like, who cares? I care way more about that than this. I'm way more excited about Idris Elba playing Knuckles than whether or not the fox was possessed by his mom. Who fucking cares? God.
So you didn't like the movie?
No, just I also really fucking hate it when people like bend over backwards to try to give something extra meaning that is literally in no way implied in the movie. They're just like, wouldn't it be neat if
But hold on, I'm gonna make the argument that it is implied. Because when the fox talks,
hang on. Here's one thing. I think you missed the part where I said I don't care.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
Like, I don't care. Like, I care so little. I honestly would rather just not hear your explanation. Like, I love you, buddy, but I'm just annoyed by this movie.
Fair enough.
Goes beyond like, those some fan theories are fun. Like, I like the fan theory of like, 007 and James Bond are actually just the monikers given to the different agents. Like, the best agent that they have is given this mantle to take over after the previous one retires or whatever. Like, I think that's an interesting enough take on the series. I think that's cool. It doesn't really like bend over backwards for anything. It doesn't fuck anything up. It doesn't massively reinterpret anything. But then you have weird dumb fuck ideas. I'm not gonna get into the whole Jar Jar was actually a Sith Lord thing with you.
I'm more saying like it's pretty explicit in the text that the interpretation can mean. I'm not pulling that out of my ass.
That's okay, but not in the movie. In the movie,
it is in the movie though. That's my point though. But
I don't care.
Well, then stop trying to make the argument that I'm full of shit.
I didn't get that out of it. I'm not saying you're full of shit. I'm saying that you read something.
Okay, I didn't read something. That's how I interpreted it when I watched it.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, maybe I was just already so checked out. I did not give a shit.
Fair enough. And that's sorry. my interpretation of that was you're full of shit. That was on me.
So was the fox just like his guide, like his mom as a guide the whole way through?
That's what they imply.
Really? Because the I just saw something from one dude who like is all versed in Arthurian shit, who was like, it's like one of the things is that after he fetches the lady's head and she has like all that like beautiful red hair, like that's the moment he gets the fox with the like beautiful red fur as a companion.
Yeah, but the fox falls in before that. We see that.
Yeah, but that's when it becomes a companion.
I don't know. I feel like most of the fox says like "come home" and shit. And it says in like a similar tone that she did when she was listening to like the Green Knight. Like she was like channeling the Green Knight's voice. So like that's where I got that person from. It could be true, could be not. In the end, it doesn't fucking matter. But I do like the idea that again that my dumb fuck son fucked up all my plans. So now I got to keep a close eye on my dumb fuck son. He's gonna fuck up everything else.
I just want to make an edit of the movie with the mom, just have the shot constantly be of like, don't even show what she's looking at. Just have her facing something with kind of a light glow on her face, like someone sitting on their laptop in a dark room, and just throughout the movie, as scenes are happening, just cut back to her in that position, just going like, oh God, like just
that would make it great. Like,
no, if we just edited this movie to focus on the mother's continuous disappointment that her son, no matter how many chances he's given to not be a fuck up, keeps fucking up. Like they even cut back to that main room where they were casting the spell and everything when the Green Knight first came in. Like there should have been a moment where she was like, "Oh, you dumb fucking child!" Like.
It's like I would love it if, like right after that, there's just a scene where she's like staring at him cold, like what the fuck? Like not even doesn't even say anything, just like rolls up a newspaper and just starts whacking him.
Yeah, right. Just gives him a little warning before he goes in, like, don't fight any mythical creatures that might show up. What are you talking about? Never mind. Just
don't worry about it. If somebody gives you a really obvious trap, do not fall for the really obvious trip.
But like, I have to wonder, like, why did you have to chop his head off? Were you really just trying to flex that hard? You couldn't just go like, eh. Like just
that was what I was saying.
Yeah, I was like, just fucking scrape it. He said any fucking harm it comes to him, you will return that same harm. So just jab him.
Because he's a dipshit.
Just give him a little stab.
Because he's a dipshit. The movie makes that very clear. That
I think that's one of the main things that I had a problem with through the movie. Like, I could not bring myself to care about this fucking guy.
And that is totally fair.
So bad at all of it. He
is so dumb. That is.
I love the aesthetic. I love the aesthetic. I love the cinematography. I love the set design. I love the visual effects. I love Dev Patel.
Very underrated actor.
Dev Patel.
Very different actor.
No, was it? What's the name of that one actor? Most people first saw him in Friday Night Lights, and then Meth Damon. He's been in a bunch of stuff since. He was in I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
Like the weird dude?
Yeah, the weird dude.
Oh God, I just saw him
weirdly like a squinty Matt Damon.
He's in like Game Night, and he's the German guy in Jungle Cruise.
Yeah. That guy.
Where every time I see him in something, my first thought was like, oh, of course that's him.
Something Clement.
Hold on, let me IMDb it. It is. Wow, he's surprisingly not right away in the fucking top cast for this fucking piece of movie. I don't know. It's a mystery.
I don't know. I think that they should just have Dev Patel go to fucking events with that guy next to him, saying like, "This is my brother, Dave Patel," and he'll just be like, "Hi." Like they don't do anything to make him look any different. They just introduce him like that. He's a quintessential Dave. Is the main joke here. In any case, I just like I don't. Yeah, it was
like I get that. Like this is definitely one of those like if you don't like it, it's definitely not for everybody.
Can I just get a whole movie which is Joel Egerton and Alicia Vikander just playing mindfuck games with Dev Patel in a castle for 3 hours and just like having philosophical conversations and really confusing the shit out of him so he doesn't know what to do, and he slowly starts to like, I would watch the shit out of that movie.
Then just slowly tricks him into giving them hand jobs.
You must give me what you have received. It's a chain, basically.
Yep. Like sounds like my wife jerked you off. Now you jerk me off. Let's go.
And him and the wife just maintain eye contact like across him, like doing the whole thing. Like, yes, it works.
Granny's in the corner, they're blindfolded. Like, I like to watch.
Anyway, so
I cannot find this fucker on IMDb, and it's pissing me off. But anyway,
oh my god,
is it Jesse Plemons?
Jesse Plemons. There you go.
His name is Jesse. There we go. It's a weird black and white photo where he looks like he's in a jazz band. That's why I didn't recognize it right away.
Maybe he is. What's wrong with that?
Nothing. It just makes him harder to recognize.
All right, sure. Anyway,
I don't really have much else to say about this movie. Do you?
I didn't care. I'm pretty sure you all understood that by now. But really, I really
very clear. Very clear.
All right. So that was that. Green Knight, artsy fartsy. Go watch it if you're into that. And don't be surprised if you don't like it, even if you are, because I didn't. But you might, even if you're not, because some people that don't like those kinds of movies have watched it and really enjoyed it. So fuck if I know.
Feel like it's this year's what was that Adam Sandler movie we disagreed on? Uncut Gems.
Oh God.
Yeah. So yeah, that's I think it's for this one. So we still got Stillwater we got to watch, and then Vivo in 9 days, which we got to track down. I'm very curious about the last one.
Yeah, 9 days looks really interesting.
So
we should be able to catch it this weekend if we hunt around a bit.
I know I got plans Saturday. We talk Sunday.
We'll figure it out. In any case,
all right. Thank y'all for watching.
Bye, everyone.